Who's actually getting the most out of a Zebra ZT411, and who should keep scrolling? If you're trying to decide whether an industrial-strength barcode printer belongs in your small shop workflow or if a desktop model will do, you've probably asked yourself, will I really need a 600 dpi, 4-inch wide printer, or am I just paying for features I'll never use? The price point sits somewhere between a high-end office printer and a full-scale warehouse system, so the stakes are real. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started digging into the ZT411, the first thing that kept me up at night was the hidden cost of the ribbon. The printer itself ships without any consumables, which is fine if you have a steady supply chain for thermal transfer ribbons, but it adds a recurring expense that many first-time buyers overlook. I also saw a couple of low-rated reviews that mentioned a steep learning curve with the touchscreen. Those bits of feedback made me wonder how much time I'd actually spend in configuration versus printing. Let's break down how the ZT411 fits into three typical environments: a mid-size warehouse that needs rapid, durable labels, a small manufacturing line that prints batch-specific IDs, and a tech-savvy office that occasionally needs QR codes for inventory. In the big warehouse scenario, the 4 IPS inches per second print speed and the capability to handle 4-inch wide media are genuine strengths. You can print sturdy, weatherproof labels that survive the cold storage aisle and the heat of a loading dock without the ink smearing. The Ethernet and serial ports let the printer sit on a network share, so your WMS, warehouse management system, can push jobs directly, and the built-in Bluetooth offers a fallback for on-the-fly tasks. For a small batch operation, the ZT411's 4.3-inch color touch display becomes a double-edged sword. On one hand, you get instant visual feedback on ribbon usage and media jams, which reduces downtime. On the other, the menu hierarchy can be unintuitive if you're used to a simpler press print workflow. I tried setting up a custom label template using Zebra's designer software, and after a couple of hiccups, mainly around selecting the right media type, the process settled down. The key takeaway is that the printer rewards users who invest time in learning the interface. It isn't a plug-and-play device for the occasional label. If you're just an office manager looking for something to generate QR codes for meeting rooms, the ZT411 probably overshoots. A standard desktop label printer would handle those needs at a fraction of the cost and without the hassle of managing ribbons. The industrial build, while durable, isn't a selling point for low-volume, low-complexity jobs. In fact, the extra heft and the need for a dedicated power outlet can feel cumbersome on a cramped desk. Now, let's talk about the practical strengths that actually matter after the box is opened. First, the durability. Zebra's market reputation hinges on printers that keep printing through dust, temperature swings, and constant media changes. In the field, that translates to fewer service tickets and less waste when a label smudges or a blank strip appears. Second, the connectivity options. Having Ethernet, USB, serial, and Bluetooth on a single unit means you can future-proof your setup. If your IT department decides to migrate from a legacy serial protocol to a modern network, the printer stays relevant. Third, the media flexibility. The ZT411 can handle a range of substrates, from glossy polyester to matte cardstock, which is handy when you need to switch between durable asset tags and softer shipping labels. On the flip side, the hidden trade-offs are where many buyers stumble. The ribbon being sold separately is the most obvious cost factor. A high-quality, resin-based ribbon can cost several dollars per roll, and the printer will refuse to operate if the sensor detects low ribbon levels. If you're on a tight budget, that recurring expense can add up quickly. Another practical weakness is the lack of an internal cutter. The ZT411 relies on an optional external cutter accessory for cleanly separating each label. Without it, you either have to manual tear or buy the cutter, which again nudges the total price upward. Finally, the touchscreen, while informative, can be less responsive in cold environments, a concern if your printer sits in a refrigerated area. Users have reported that the screen lags slightly after hours of operation, making quick menu navigation a bit frustrating. So, who should buy this printer? If you run a medium to large operation that prints a high volume of durable labels daily, need networked printing, and have an established consumable supply chain, the ZT411 is a solid investment. The speed, media width, and ruggedness align with the demands of shipping, asset tracking, and compliance labeling. You'll also benefit if you already use Zebra's software ecosystem, because the integration feels seamless. Conversely, if your label printing needs are sporadic, your budget is modest, or you lack the time to tinker with the advanced settings, you might want to skip this model. A lower-priced desktop printer will meet most office-level requirements without the extra ribbon cost and without the learning curve. What about value for money? The headline price places the